Ladies and gentlemen, what we have to be most careful about in the course of the next 2, 3, 4 years, and especially over the next 12 months, for reasons I cannot share entirely right now, some of it is privileged information, is the possibility of a regime change operation in the country, which is organized by the deep state. Now, many people believe that when I speak about the deep state, I speak only about the CIA or American intelligence operations. No, it could be others. It could be countries that appear to be benign to India, but which are not. It could be countries which are affiliates of our enemies. And it could be countries or individuals who are operating individually who are on the rolls of deep states of other countries. We have to be very careful about the very realistic possibility of large-scale violence, chaos and anarchy, which is instigated by people who want to, on the back of such an event, create a situation of anarchy and then carry out a regime change operations, particularly by using certain sections of the media, which becomes a very effective force amplifier for them, as was in the case with Bangladesh. Now, viewers, when I spoke about the deep state in the past, you supported me. Think for a while of what happened in 2019. The visuals will be on your screen. We saw the sudden and fast commencement of extreme violence in northeast Delhi. And over the week after that, 53 people died. The attempt was to say that Narendra Modi government has lost control. And there were riots in areas like Silampur, Jafrabad, Babarpur. We saw how there was an inclination to shift the blame by each side. Innocent people were dragged. Lynchings were carried out. This was open targeting of Hindus. Hindu phobia. Cops were shot at. Shops were burnt. Riot factories were up and about, and in some cases, a lot of arsenal for the riots was found to be stored on tops of houses, so which means that people who had planned this out. These were not just petrol bombs, acid bombs, but there were a lot of actual arms. Intelligence officials were killed, and I had said then that this was a very well thought out, well calculated, well concerted regime change operation. Yet every time I say regime change, every time I say deep state, I become the enemy of a group of people who know that when I say so, I'm targeting them. I was the first person to use the hashtag Tukde Tukde Gang. Now every second politician uses it. I use the word urban Naxal, and by the use of these hashtags, I made it clear that there was a clear and potent enemy within our country who we must target and identify, whether it is Sharjeel Imam or every other rioter in Jahangirpuri. Ladies and gentlemen, now I have with me the preliminary submissions of the Delhi police in the court, where it has been said that at that time, the materials on record, including the chats referencing US President Donald Trump, established beyond doubt that there was an instant conspiracy pre-planned to be executed at the time when Trump was in India. And the Delhi police's affidavit goes on to say that the conspiracy hatched, nurtured and executed by the petitioner was to strike at the very heart of the sovereignty and integrity of this country. There is an attached note which says the international theory developed in the past few years would term these kinds of organized and sponsors protests as regime change operations. Thank you, Delhi police, for finally saying in as many words what I've been saying for the longest time. Thank you to the security forces for finally using this word regime change. They might as well now use the word deep state. Why this subtlety? If Republic is direct about it, the security agencies of this country also should be clear. This is exactly what happened in Nepal. This is exactly what happened in Kathmandu. This is exactly what happened in Dhaka. July 2024, ladies and gentlemen, when I spoke about regime change, Bangladesh was ripped apart. They want to rip apart India too. A democratically elected leader was made to flee her own country on 5th August 2024. And in our country too, there are some evil politicians, evil, EVIL. You know who I'm talking about, who want to carry out regime change of a democratically elected government. This is what they did in Nepal. What is the difference between what they did in the Delhi riots and what they did in Kathmandu, what they did in Bangladesh? If it was the CIA which carried this out in Bangladesh, Is there a possibility the CIA was behind what happened in Delhi too? I know the others will not say it, but Arnab Goswami and the Republic Media Network will say it as it is. For we do not believe in subtlety or fence sitting anymore. We know the fakery of the Gen Z movement in Nepal, how people were massacred and burnt alive. The wife of a former prime minister was set ablaze. And ladies and gentlemen, with due respect, we want to ask the fake gang how they amplified making Greta Thunberg their ambassador, how woke Americans and Rihanna and pop stars and millions of dollars were put in to destabilize India. And this is why on the 26th of January 2021, there was an attempt to pull down the tricolour from the Red Fort. That is what regime change looks like. That is what regime change is. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a deep state regime change operation is all about. I know I said it last year and you supported me. And I want to remind you that in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, January and February to be precise, 3 months after they had put me in prison on false charges, I had led a media campaign to expose those who wanted to carry out regime change in our country using a fake farmers' protest. I believe in speaking the truth, not in fake subtlety. The Delhi police affidavit says it as it is. I just wish it would be an open declaration by the central government. No more being on the defensive, trying to justify things. The central government, the parliament, the Supreme Court, the Election Commission must all understand there is an ongoing attempt at a regime change operation in our beloved country. Being subtle about it will allow it to grow, germinate, and lie low till they find an opportune moment, till some American benefactors, some Soros gang does not give them more money so they can carry out more violence in our country. But the Republic Media Network and I do not believe in such fence sitting. Call it out, ladies and gentlemen. Call out the attempted regime change. Speak against the people who are trying to do it before it is too late. We need to fight for our country. We need to save our country.